My stepmom threw out all my mom's photos saying, "This is my house now." I waited 6 months, then threw out all her family photos on the same day she did it to me. My name's Lily, 23 years old, female, and my hands still smell like old paper and lemon cleaner whenever I think about that day. It's stupid, right? Scent is a landmine. I can be standing in the cereal aisle, catch a ghost of pledge, and suddenly I'm in our Columbus living room again, counting picture frames like rosary beads and praying no one touches them. My mom, Maria, 50 years old, female, died 2 years ago after one of those quiet, efficient cancers. She left me a house that hummed with her. The crocheted throw that snagged on my rings, the cactus she named Joan, mean spines, endless patience, the Polaroids lined up on the mantel like tiny windows you could step through if you wanted bad enough. After the funeral, it was just me and my dad, Mark, 54 years old, male, drifting like roommates with the same face. He tried to carry grief like a piece of furniture you never put down. Then he met Tessa, 42 years old, female. "She's kind," he told me first, like that offset the fact that she moved fast. Kind is a word people use when they want to skip details. Tessa came with a voice like a soft commercial and 2 kids. Brooke, 16 years old, female, who had eyeliner sharp enough to slice opinions, and Aiden, 12 years old, male, who followed any adult who bent down to his level and talked like they meant it. I liked Aiden. I wanted to like Brooke. I kept trying on liking Tessa like a sweater that kept itching worse the longer I wore it. Tessa didn't so much move in as arrive. She pinned up sheer white curtains that had no time to learn the house's light and announced airflow. She vacuumed in lines so straight it felt like disrespect to step on them. She set our spices in a rainbow and asked if we could start fresh. She never said the word dead. She called my mom's things nostalgic in the same tone you'd call fruit overripe. We had this wedding photo of my parents with the frame chipped at the bottom, Mom laughing up at Dad like she'd just gotten away with something. I learned to go quiet when I heard that laugh in my head. It was my tell. Tessa caught it once, lifted the photo, ran her thumb over the chip. "Shabby chic," she said. Smiled. Put it back slightly to the left, like she'd corrected it. Little things started disappearing. The yellow mixing bowl with the hairline crack was too porous, she said, and I found it in the garage next to a box labeled drop-off. The Afghan vanished and reappeared folded in a bin that smelled like dryer sheets. One morning, my mom's cactus was on the back steps in February as if it had misbehaved. I brought it inside, hands burning from the cold, and Tessa laughed lightly. "You're so sentimental," she said, like a diagnosis. Dad repeated her phrases like borrowed religion. "We should do a deep clean," he said. "She's just trying to make this feel like home." I wanted to ask, whose? There was one thing I didn't compromise on, the photos. Polaroids, 5x7s, the faded shot of my mom with flour on her nose, the beach picture where we both squint like we don't trust the sun. I dusted them every Sunday. I knew where each one belonged, like a map of how our love took shape. The day it happened, the house smelled like lemon cleaner and rain. I came home from a late shift, saw the curb lined with 3 new bins, heavy lids bowing a little. The air felt wrong. In the driveway, Brooke filmed a TikTok, hair flipping, while Aiden kicked at a cracked piece of frame. I lifted a lid and glass clicked like teeth. A whole life, wet and pulped. Faces smudged with rain and trash water. My mom's smile dissolving into paper soup. I looked up and Tessa stood on the porch, arms crossed, mascara perfect. "It was time," she said, each word clipped. "This is my house now." When I tell you my chest hurt, I mean it felt like someone had reached inside and torn something out. I couldn't even scream. I just stood there, dripping rain onto the porch, staring at the bins full of my mother's face while Tessa, 42, female, my stepmom, smirked like she'd just declared herself queen of the world. I tried to talk to Dad, Mark, 54, male, that night. He wouldn't even meet my eyes. "She's just trying to make things livable, Lily," he muttered, pouring himself a drink like that could drown me out. Livable. As if my mom's memory made life unlivable. That was the night something in me hardened. I scooped up Joan, the cactus Tessa had left out to freeze, and put it back on my dresser like a sentry. I whispered to it, I'll remember for us both. But Tessa wasn't done. No, throwing out my mom's pictures wasn't enough. She started claiming territory. My mom's old sewing room became her reading nook. The chest at the foot of my bed, the one that held my mom's quilt, her recipe box, her handwritten letters, disappeared while I was at class. I found the quilt shoved into a black trash bag in the garage, reeking of gasoline and dust. I confronted her once, voice shaking. "You don't get to erase her." She tilted her head, fake sweet smile like she was talking to a misbehaving toddler. "Sweetheart, she's gone. I'm here. And it's our home now. Learn to accept it." Then she added, quiet but sharp enough to draw blood. "You remind him too much of her. That's why he lets me handle it." I swear my ears rang. Brooke, 16, female, Tessa's daughter, watched me like a hawk after that. She'd whisper snide things at the dinner table. "You're obsessed with a dead woman. Maybe you'd be happier living with her." Oh, wait. Aiden, 12, male, her son, didn't join in, but he never defended me either. Just sat there, shrinking into himself. The tipping point came a month later. I came home early from campus and caught Tessa in my room, my drawers half open, her perfume filling the air. She was holding my mom's old locket, the one I wore when I needed courage. "What are you doing?" I snapped, my voice breaking. She didn't flinch. She laughed. "Honestly? Making sure you're not hoarding more relics? You cling too hard." Then she slipped the locket into her pocket like it was hers. I lost it. Grabbed her wrist. "Give it back!" she shrieked, this high-pitched banshee sound, and yanked away so violently she knocked over my lamp. It shattered on the floor. Dad came running up the stairs, and before I could explain, she was clutching her arm, tears welling up. She attacked me, and Dad believed her. He actually turned to me, red-faced, and shouted, "Enough, Lily. You need to stop this. She's my wife now." That night, lying in bed staring at the cracked shadows on my wall, I realized I couldn't win by begging. I couldn't protect my mom's memory by playing defense. If Tessa wanted war, she was going to get it. And I would wait, 6 months if I had to, until the perfect day. The day she least expected it. The day the house would remind her it was never hers. Don't forget to subscribe. 6 months. That's how long I held my breath and played the part of the dutiful daughter, swallowing every ounce of rage like battery acid. I had to, because if I blew up too soon, she'd win. Tessa, 42, female, thrived on chaos, her voice cracking into fake sobs, dragging my dad, Mark, 54, male, to her side like a shield. I needed patience. But those 6 months were hell. First, she redecorated the living room. My mom's coffee table, scratched from years of board games and late-night talks, vanished. In its place was some glossy white monstrosity that looked like it belonged in a showroom. The rug my mom picked out? Gone. The family couch? Donated, she said, though I found out later she sold it on Facebook Marketplace. Then, she rewrote the kitchen. Literally threw out my mom's handwritten recipe box, the one stained with butter and fingerprints. When I asked where it was, she breezed, "Outdated. We don't need clutter." Clutter. My mom's handwriting, her voice in ink. Brooke, 16, female, Tessa's daughter, leaned into the cruelty. She'd swipe my earbuds off the counter, mutter, "Dead mom's girl," under her breath at school when no one else was listening. Once, I caught her taking a Snapchat filter selfie in front of my mom's cactus on my desk, captioned, "Ugly plant, ugly owner." I nearly slapped the phone out of her hand. Even Aiden, 12, male, her son, sweet as he was, started parroting Tessa's lines. "Mom says you live in the past too much." He said it like he was reciting homework. That cut deeper than Brooke's venom. The worst was my birthday. My first birthday without Mom. I walked into the kitchen hoping, naively, that maybe Dad remembered the tradition. Mom always baked me this lopsided chocolate cake with strawberries. Instead, Tessa was already there, piping frosting onto a 3-tier cake that looked straight out of Pinterest. "Surprise," she sang. "Now you can start new traditions." I stared at it. Not one strawberry. I blew out the candles wishing for fire. Things escalated one night when I came home late and heard voices in the garage. I peeked in. Tessa was dragging out another bin. My mom's quilt, my mom's scarves, even the dried bouquet from her funeral. Donations, she said when I confronted her. This house needs space for the living, not shrines for the dead. I snapped, tried to grab the quilt back, and she screamed again, high-pitched, just like before. Dad came running, saw me clutching the quilt like a shield while she clutched her throat as if I'd tried to strangle her. She's unstable, Mark, she sobbed. And he told me to give it back, to stop antagonizing her. That night, I sat on my bed clutching that quilt, swearing under my breath. I'll make her feel what I felt. And then the opportunity came. Tessa loved her family photos. She filled the house with them. Her mother's stern face in a golden frame, Brooke's ballet recital shots, Aiden's Little League trophies. They were everywhere, colonizing shelves and walls like ivy. She polished them weekly, humming like a queen inspecting her crown jewels. That's when the idea bloomed. Sweet, perfect symmetry. She'd taken my mom from the walls in one brutal sweep. I would wait. 6 months. To the exact day. And when that day came, her walls would bleed silence too. 6 months to the day. I circled it on my calendar in red ink, the same color my mom used to mark birthdays and anniversaries. That morning, the house smelled like bleach. Tessa's, 42, female, favorite battle perfume. I'd been waiting for this exact moment, and I wasn't going to flinch. But the days leading up to it nearly broke me. 2 weeks earlier, she escalated again. I came home to find my mom's locket, the one she'd stolen from my room months back, dangling from her neck. She wore it like a trophy. "It suits me better," she said casually, flipping it between her fingers. My chest burned so hot I thought I'd pass out. Then came Brooke, 16, female. She'd started inviting her friends over, treating the house like it was hers alone. One Friday night, I walked in on her friends sprawled on the living room rug, giggling while passing around one of my mom's old photo albums. They'd drawn mustaches and devil horns on the faces. Brooke grinned. "We were just having fun. You're so sensitive." That album had my mom in her wedding dress. I locked myself in the bathroom and dry-heaved. Even Aiden, 12 male, the only one I still had patience for, cracked. "Mom says you don't belong here," he whispered one night when I found him sneaking Oreos. His voice shook like he didn't even believe himself, but he still said it. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. But the universe? It handed me timing. The exact date, 6 months after she threw my mom's photos into the rain, fell on a Saturday. Tessa had plans to host a family night. She'd invited her sister, her mother, and a couple cousins over. She spent the whole morning polishing frames, dusting off her shrine of Brooke's ballet photos and Aiden's trophies, and arranging them neatly on the mantel. I watched her hum as she worked, a sick déjà vu of what she'd stolen from me. My dad, Mark, 54, male, was useless as ever, outside fiddling with the grill. By mid-afternoon, the house gleamed with her family history. That's when I moved. I started upstairs, quietly gathering frame after frame from the hall walls. Her wedding with my dad, Brooke's cheerleading photos, her mother in a stiff black and white portrait. I carried armfuls at a time to the garage, stacking them like firewood in the bins she'd once filled with my mother's life. Every click of glass against glass made me shake harder, but not with fear, with relief. By the time the doorbell rang, every single frame was gone. The mantel was bare. The walls were naked, shelves empty. Her sister walked in, glanced at the blank living room and frowned. "Where's all the pictures?" Tessa froze mid-laugh, her face blanching. She whipped around, eyes scanning the stripped walls like she was in a nightmare. What the hell happened?" I stepped out of the garage, wiped my hands on my jeans, and said it plain. "It's been 6 months. This is my house too. Time to start fresh." She lunged toward me, voice already cracking into that shrill pitch, and tried to shove past to the garage. I slammed the door shut. The bins thudded on the other side like coffins. Her scream rattled the whole house. And for the first time, I didn't flinch. Don't forget to subscribe. Update. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. First, thank you to everyone who DM'd me kind words, and to the people who said, She's going to combust like a volcano? Y'all were prophets. So, here's what happened after I hit post. When I stripped the house bare of Tessa's 42 female family photos and told her it was my turn to start fresh, I thought she'd scream, maybe cry, maybe pull the usual Mark damsel routine. Nope, she went nuclear. She threw herself at the garage door, pounding so hard the glass in the window cracked. "My baby's memories, my family," she shrieked, while her sister and cousin stood there awkwardly holding casseroles. Brooke, 16, female, pulled out her phone and started filming, probably for TikTok. Aiden, 12, male, just looked scared. Dad, Mark, 54, male. He tried to play peacekeeper, but his voice was shaking. "Lily, just give them back, okay? Let's not do this." I looked him straight in the face. 6 months ago today, she threw away every picture of Mom. Did you tell her to not do this then? Dead silence. Even her relatives stopped shifting around. Tessa shrieked louder, full-on crocodile tears. She lunged at me, nails out, screaming that I was sick and obsessed with a corpse. Her sister grabbed her by the shoulders, trying to pull her back, while she wailed about how I was erasing her existence. The irony almost made me laugh. Here's the kicker. Brooke posted a clip of her mom screaming on Snapchat with the caption, "Stepdaughter from hell strikes back." Except, the comments flipped fast. People started asking why her mom thought it was okay to throw out my mom's photos in the first place. Someone even tagged me. I didn't know half the kids at her school even knew what happened. By midnight, people were calling Brooke out. And Tessa? She didn't let it die. She stormed into my room later, mascara smeared, and said she'd call the cops if I didn't hand back the bins. "This is theft," she spat. I laughed. Actually laughed. "So when you threw away my mom's photos, that was what? Charity work?" She screamed so loud Dad came running again, but this time he didn't yell at me. He just stood there, pale and quiet. I'm not gonna lie, some of your comments shook me. A few of you said, "Don't just sit there, document everything. She's the type to spin it into abuse." You're right. I started snapping photos of every empty wall, every bin of her frames, even the cracked garage door glass from when she tried to break through. Because I know her. She's not done. Some of you said I should burn the photos. Tempting, very tempting, but that's not my style. What I did was enough. She felt the void, the same void she forced me to feel. And judging by her meltdown, she's going to feel it for a long time. But here's the thing. If she keeps pushing, I've still got cards left to play, and I'm not afraid to use them. The fallout didn't simmer. It detonated. The morning after I cleared the walls, Tessa, 42, female, started a campaign. She stormed through the house screaming, slamming cabinet doors, muttering like a horror movie villain. Then she escalated. She called her mom and sister on speaker, sobbing so loud the neighbors probably heard. "She destroyed everything I've built. She's violent. She's obsessed with her dead mother." Her sister came over that night with printouts of family photos, like they were preparing for a funeral. Tessa taped them to the walls with blue painter's tape, defiantly covering the blank spaces I'd left. They fluttered loose at the edges, looking ridiculous. I tore one down on my way to the kitchen. Tessa lunged at me, tried to snatch it back, shrieking. Dad, Mark, 54, male, wedged himself between us, but I saw it in his eyes. He knew this wasn't just a spat. She wasn't done. She went public. She posted a long, unhinged Facebook status. When you open your heart and home to someone, sometimes they repay you with cruelty. Please pray for my children as they deal with a jealous, unstable stepsister who is trying to erase our family. She attached a selfie of herself crying, Brooke, 16, female, hugging her shoulder like a loyal sidekick. But here's where it backfired. People remembered. A couple of neighbors commented, "Didn't you throw away Lily's mom's photos last year?" Another one asked, "Wasn't that your husband's first wife? Why would you erase her from the house?" Her replies got defensive fast. Paragraphs about moving forward and letting go of grief. She deleted the post within 24 hours, but not before screenshots spread. At school, Brooke doubled down. She told anyone who would listen that I was deranged, that I screamed at her mom and broke the garage door in a fit of rage. Except one of her classmates, someone who'd seen the Snapchat meltdown, leaked the video of Tessa pounding the door and screaming. Suddenly, it wasn't just gossip. It was proof. By the end of the week, Tessa had snapped in a new way. She started locking her bedroom door and carrying her purse everywhere, even inside the house like she expected me to steal from her. She accused me of snooping every time I walked past her. One night, I heard glass shatter in the kitchen. She'd smashed a wine glass against the wall, screaming that I was turning everyone against her. Dad finally broke his silence. At dinner, he put his fork down and said, voice low, "Enough, Tessa." The table went dead quiet. She froze, then started to cry. Not loud, not dramatic this time. Quiet, shaking sobs that almost felt real. She whispered, "You're choosing her over me." He didn't answer. That silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard in that house. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't the only one she'd lost control of. The week after Dad finally told her, enough, Tessa, 42, female, went full scorched earth. She didn't just stew in silence. She called reinforcements. On a Tuesday night, I came home from class to find 3 cars in the driveway. Her sister, her mom, and even Brooks, 16 female, dance coach. Inside, they'd staged some kind of intervention. Tessa sat in the center of the living room, blotchy-faced, surrounded by her support system. As soon as I walked in, her mom pointed at me like a judge delivering a sentence. "This girl has been tormenting my daughter in her own home. This is abuse." I froze, backpack still on my shoulders. "Are you serious?" Tessa sniffled, clutching a tissue. "She threw out every picture of my family. She terrorizes Brooke and Aiden. She makes me feel unsafe." Her sister chimed in, "Mark, you need to get this under control before someone gets hurt." Dad, Mark, 54, male, sat stiff in his chair, jaw tight. He didn't defend me, but he didn't back her either. That silence again. Then Tessa dropped the nuclear card. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "If this continues, I'll be calling Child Protective Services for Aiden's safety." I swear the room tilted. "You're threatening to call CPS? On me?" Her mother snapped, "Don't you raise your voice, young lady. You're unstable. You don't belong here." That was it. My hands shook, but I pulled out my phone. Good. Let's get this all documented. I started recording, panning across her family circle, catching Tessa's tear-streaked face as she stammered, "Turn that off." Her sister lunged forward like she was going to slap the phone out of my hand, but I held it high. "You call CPS, you better hope they don't ask why your daughter smashed wine glasses in the kitchen last week screaming that she wanted me gone. Or why Aiden hears her saying she wishes I was dead." Silence. Real silence this time. Even Brooke's coach looked uncomfortable. Her mom muttered something about family matters and started shepherding people toward the door. Tessa wailed louder, but the room was unraveling. When the door finally slammed shut behind them, she spun on Dad. "You let her humiliate me." And Dad, quiet, steady, finally snapped. "You humiliated yourself, Tessa." Her face twisted, red blotches spreading across her neck. She grabbed one of the taped-up photo printouts, ripped it from the wall, and hurled it at him. The frame cracked against the floor. Aiden cried out. Brooke ran upstairs. I just stood there, recording every second. Because for the first time, it wasn't just my word against hers. And she knew it. Update 2. All right, Reddit, buckle up, because you all were dead on about her escalating. Remember how some of you said, she's the type to weaponize CPS? Yeah, she did exactly that. So, 2 days after that fake intervention, a CPS worker actually showed up at our door. Tessa, 42, female, stepmom, had filed a report claiming I was unstable, violent, and unsafe around children. I thought my heart was going to crawl out of my throat when I saw the clipboard. But here's the kicker. I was ready. Thank you to the commenter who told me to start recording everything. When the worker asked me questions, I calmly pulled out my phone and said, "Actually, would you like to see footage of Tessa smashing wine glasses and screaming she wanted me gone?" Showed her the video. Then I played the one of Tessa's mother threatening me, and Tessa herself admitting I threw out her family's photos in retaliation for her throwing out mine. The worker's expression went from neutral to, "Are you kidding me?" in about 30 seconds. She did a full walkthrough of the house, spoke to Aiden, 12 male, and then left, looking like she'd just wasted her entire afternoon. Tessa tried to spin it, crying in the kitchen, wailing about being gaslit in her own home. But when I caught the worker's eyes on her way out, she mouthed, "Stay strong." Reddit, I almost cried on the spot. But it gets better. Brooke, 16, female, had been sulking since the Snapchat video blew up, and apparently her classmates were giving her hell. Someone made a meme of Tessa banging on the garage door with the caption, "Live footage of when you forget your dead wife cosplay." It spread. Brooke came at me screaming, but I didn't even argue. I just told her, "Your mom started this. Don't blame me, because the truth isn't flattering." And Dad? For the first time in months, he finally picked a side. After CPS left, he told Tessa flat out, "This ends now. You need help, not another purge of the house." She burst into tears, called him a traitor, packed a bag, and drove off to her sister's. Which brings me to now. I'm sitting in my room, Joan the cactus still alive beside me, typing this while the house is quiet for the first time in half a year. I know she's not done. She's not the type to bow out gracefully. Some of you said she's going to try public meltdowns, maybe drag Dad's work into it, maybe even go legal. I believe you. But now? She's cornered. The recordings exist, screenshots exist, people know, and if she tries to take this further, I've still got moves left. Some of y'all told me, your revenge was sweet, but wait until she feels true isolation. I think that's what's coming. Because after tonight, she's not just fighting me anymore, she's fighting reality. After Tessa, 42, female, stormed off to her sister's, the house felt lighter. But it didn't last. By the weekend, she was back. Not quietly, not humbly. She came roaring into the driveway, blasting her horn like a parade, hauling in 2 suitcases. She marched past me without a word, mascara already streaked, and slammed her bags down in the living room like she was reclaiming territory. And then she went public. It started at Dad's, Mark, 54, male, office picnic. He works at a manufacturing firm, very bring your family, burgers on the grill, meet the boss type event. Tessa showed up overdressed, heels sinking into the grass, clutching a wine tumbler she definitely didn't get there. At first, she played sweet, laughing too loud, clinging to Dad's arm. Then people started asking normal small talk questions. How long have you two been married? Lily, are you in school? And she couldn't help herself. She started ranting. To his boss's wife, no less. It's been so hard living with a bitter, ungrateful stepdaughter who's obsessed with her dead mother. She even threw out all my family's photos, can you imagine? Dead silence around the table. Everyone stared at her like she'd just grown a second head. I calmly said, "Did you tell them about how you threw out my mom's photos first?" Her voice jumped an octave. "Because this is my house now," she screeched, loud enough that half the lawn heard. Dad's boss raised his eyebrows, muttered something about getting another drink, and walked off. Dad looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. But she wasn't done. The very next day, she escalated again. This time at home. Around dinner time, I heard shouting outside. Looked out the window and saw Tessa in the driveway, screaming at our neighbor, Mrs. Hill. Apparently, Mrs. Hill had commented on one of Brooke's, 16 female, Snapchat posts about karma catching up. Tessa called her a nosy hag and threw an entire trash bag full of Brooke's old clothes across the yard. Clothes scattered everywhere, jeans in the bushes, bras hanging off the mailbox. That's when more neighbors came outside, phones up. I saw at least 3 cameras pointed at her as she shrieked, "Everyone's against me! They want me gone!" Brooke was crying, screaming at her mom to stop. Aiden, 12 male, was clutching his backpack like it was a shield. And Dad. He just stood there, pale and defeated, until finally he snapped, "Tessa, get inside, now." She did, but not before hurling one last insult at Mrs. Hill. "Your husband doesn't even look at you." That video? It hit Facebook before the night was over. Captioned, "Our neighborhood drama queen at it again." The comments were brutal. People I didn't even know were calling her unstable, saying they'd seen the cops at our house, asking if Dad was okay. By the end of the week, Tessa wasn't just losing inside the house. She was radioactive outside it too. And for the first time since my mom's photos hit the curb, I realized the house wasn't her kingdom anymore. It was her cage. It didn't end with neighborhood gossip. It ended with sirens. 2 weeks after the driveway meltdown, Tessa, 42, female, finally imploded. Dad, Mark, 54, male, had stopped engaging with her. He barely spoke at dinner, left early for work, came home late. She hated the silence more than yelling. Every night she'd stomp around the kitchen muttering about betrayal and ungrateful children. Brooke, 16, female, stayed locked in her room. Aiden, 12, male, camped out at friends' houses whenever he could. Then came the night she snapped. I was in my room when I heard glass shatter downstairs. I bolted down to find Tessa standing in the living room, barefoot, holding one of her broken photo frames like a weapon. She was screaming at Dad, "You ruined me! You let her destroy me!" Spit flying, tears cutting black tracks through her mascara. Dad stayed calm, voice low. "Tessa, put it down." She whipped toward me instead, pointing the jagged glass. "This is all because of you. You poisoned him. You took my family from me." My hands shook, but I pulled out my phone. "I'm recording." That was the breaking point. She lunged, not at me, at the bins in the garage. She tore them open, ripping through the photos I'd locked away, hurling them across the floor. Brooke's ballet pictures, Aiden's trophies, her mother's portrait, glass shattering with every toss. She screamed, "If I can't have my family, no one can." That's when Dad called 911. His voice didn't even waver. "My wife is out of control. We need help." The cops came fast. The neighbors gathered even faster, drawn by the noise. I'll never forget the sight. Red and blue lights flashing across our blank walls, Tessa thrashing in the officer's grip, shrieking that she was the victim, that we were all conspiring against her. Someone across the street filmed the whole thing. By morning, it was online. She was charged with disorderly conduct and destruction of property. Dad filed for a protective order the next day. Within a week, he had a lawyer drafting divorce papers. And just like that, the reign of "this is my house now" ended on the curb, the same place she'd thrown my mom's memories. The house is quiet again. Too quiet sometimes. But when I walk past the mantel now, I see what's left of my mom's photos. Rescued, some taped together, some warped by rain. Imperfect, but still here. That's the difference between her and my mom. My mom's presence doesn't need to erase anyone else. It survives. It lingers. It waits to be remembered. Tessa wanted a kingdom. What she got was exile. And me? I kept my promise. 6 months later, she finally felt the void she tried to force on me. Only difference is, she never recovered from it.